So hi there, welcome to my main meditation spot, which I use most of the time for inducing my out-of-body experiences. Not all the time. Sometimes I do that in my bed, and sometimes I do that here. Depends on how I'm feeling, how tired I am. If I'm too tired, I do it here. If I'm not tired enough, I will do it in my bed. But this is my setup, which gives me a reclining position, because I don't have a proper recliner. And this is just 3 cushions on a rolled up futon, and it serves its purpose. And the reason I'm here is that I want to share my latest out-of-body experience, which happened this morning between the hours of 11, or between the hours of 10 and 11, right in this spot. So this is what happened. I was up this morning at 7 o'clock after a full night's sleep, didn't wake up. If I dreamt, I don't remember them. But I spent about 2 hours awake and mostly doing some writing and reading. And around 10 o'clock, a little bit before 10, I started to feel a bit drowsy again. I thought I could have another sleep now, a doze, a nap. But I thought, no, let me go to the futon and do meditation instead. And I haven't had any real success over the last few days with visualizing. For some reason or another, I've not been able to. Maybe I've been too tired and just fallen straight into sleep, but I haven't had the hypnagogic imagery that I usually get, which I use then to project into out-of-body states. So I thought, if I come here this morning, I'm tired enough to be drowsy, to relax my body, but not too sleepy that I'll fall asleep. And if I just relax, instead of trying too hard to induce these images, let's see what happens if I just let myself float, just let myself go and see what comes. So I did that. I got into my reclining position, I covered myself up to keep it warm. I didn't wear my eye mask for a change, and I just relaxed, and I didn't even do any relaxation exercises. I just lay there to see what happens. And after about 15 or 20 minutes, it could have even been half an hour, I don't recall, I started getting the hypnagogic imagery. So that was pleasing enough. And I watched these images come and go for a little while, but nothing stood out. Nothing was strong enough that I felt a connection or a pull into an out-of-body state. So I thought, well, wait a minute, why don't I just change my priority here and change my goal? One thing that's always intrigued me is when other out-of-body practitioners talk about the vibrational state. When your physical body is falling asleep while your mind is still awake, then you will feel certain vibrational sensations, and they can be very, very strong. It might feel electric, it might feel pulsating, it might feel just like somebody's laying a heavy lead blanket over your body. But it is a sign that your physical body is falling asleep. And after that phase or state, what I believe is that, or what I've heard, is that your auditory senses will shut off, and after that your visual senses will shut off, and your in a sort of void, and from there you can separate from your body or teleport to another location. That is your projection point. But as I said in other videos, I've never had this vibrational state, and I'm curious to find out if it's necessary, if I could have it, and if I could have it, is it an easier way to actually project. So after the visualization, I left that alone and turned my focus from the visuals more to my physical body and the sensations within my body. And I found that within a few minutes my body did start to tingle. And that tingle developed into a sort of more throbbing, pulsating sensation. Nothing very, very strong, but very perceptible. And not painful, very pleasant actually. But it was a certain sign that my body was in a deep relaxed state, and it was enjoyable. So my next thought was, okay, can I develop this to the next stage? Can I deepen this state? And how do I do that? So I worked with intent, just focusing on deepening it, focusing on telling my body to go deeper and deeper and deeper. And nothing happened. Nothing changed in that experience, that physical throbbing experience. It just stayed at a very, very constant level. And so I thought, well, maybe this is it for me. Maybe from here I can already project. And I followed with a few trials of the cycles, movement cycles, perceived movement cycles that are involved in the in Michael Raduga's indirect technique. But again, no success there, no projection, no separation from my physical body. So I went back to just trying to deepen this vibrational state. Then all of a sudden, I wasn't here anymore. I was in a bathtub in some house that I didn't know, and I wasn't lying in the bathtub lengthways. I was cramped up in the bathtub. If this is the bathtub here, the length, I'm cramped up inside this bathtub with my knees up, and I'm still trying to deepen the vibrational state. And this is where consciousness and awareness in these states can be so confusing. You can be lucid, part lucid, semi-lucid, fully lucid, but then another part of you is not lucid at all. And this is so strange to be aware of this strange phenomena of knowing what you're doing, but being compelled to do something else. And if I'd have been fully aware, I would have said to myself, what am I doing in the bathtub? I'm already projected. So I would climb out my bathtub and go and explore. But a part of me was telling myself, even though I could sense, and I had a sense of having been projected because I wasn't sitting here anymore, and a little curiosity about why am I in a bathtub, part of me still had a desire to experience a physical separation, a separation from my physical body, which wasn't my physical body, because my physical body is here. It was a second physical body that was in the bathtub, and I wanted to separate from that physical body with another, even more subtle body. And that's what I tried to do. So again, I tried to deepen the pulsing state, which I couldn't, so I tried the cycles of movements again. And because I'm cramped up in this bathtub, I realised that trying to roll out or just stand up and climb out was going to be a lot more difficult than it would be out of a bed or out of this position. You try and roll out of a bathtub, it's pretty difficult. So the only option open to me was to levitate out. And so I put my focus on levitation, and I started to feel something. I started to feel some separation of a body that rose above the body that was lying in the bathtub. So I'm getting some success at last. And I could feel this body in the bathtub pulling my new free body into it. So I felt a suction movement. But I managed, with determination and a lot of intent, to actually levitate completely out. I had my eyes closed, but I could sense where the door was. So I levitated towards the door, got outside into a hallway, closed the door and settled back down on the ground. At that moment I thought, well, okay, it's worked. I'm free of that body. But where am I? Whose house is this? And again, another example of how strange your mind or your awareness works. I could see my way down across this passageway and down some steps into a room, past a guy who was living there, but ignored him and went into this front room. But at the same time I was aware of having my eyes closed and not being able to see clearly enough. And I was aware also of not wanting to open my eyes in case I opened my real physical eyes in this spot. So I tried then to see through my perceived eyelids, and that worked. At one point I could actually see clearly, even though I could feel my physical eyes still closed shut. And I could feel my body at this time here, lying down with my arms by my side, and the bathtub body was completely forgotten. So I'm in this room now, and there's a window in front of me, looking out onto a street, like a shop window. And I'm thinking, for some reason I want to get back to this house. I want to get back to my own house. This is the house I was in. It was not mine. I've never seen it before. And I didn't want to project from there or teleport from there to any other place. I felt a call back to this place. I wanted to be in my own environment and then take it further from there. So I thought, how am I going to get here? Let's try a new teleportation technique. Now, if you've ever seen the film Doctor Strange, they have this great technique of teleportation, and they wave the fingers around and create a swirling loop or hoop of flame, fire, sparks, and that is a portal for them. They create a portal in there and they can just step through into another realm. I thought, I'd try this. I've been wanting to try this for a long time, and now I suddenly have the awareness to try this. So I stand in this room facing the window and I start waving my hand around, try to create this loop of fire. And all the time I'm doing this, there's a guy outside the window unlocking a chain from his bicycle, watching me and thinking I'm completely loopy. I think he actually did this to me, muttered some words, but stood there a while, and it took a lot of focus on my part not to be disturbed by him, to ignore him, think, you know, it doesn't matter what he thinks, he's just a dream character or whatever, even if he's not, it does not matter, I'm doing this. So I continue waving my arm around and I'm trying to create this hoop of flame. And what I get is a slight orange circle appearing in front of me. it's working, this is something I can develop. Then my sister comes into the room. And I seem to have the knowledge that my sister and my brother Gary are also in the house. Well, my sister comes into the room and asks me what I'm doing. And I tell her I'm trying to create a portal so I can project back into the realm of my house here in Amsterdam. And she didn't actually say anything, but she gave the impression that she thought I was just as loopy as the guy outside did. But I said, no, look, I've got this circle here, and at that moment the circle became stronger. So I can dive through this and I'll be gone here, I'll be in another realm. And then I somersaulted through it. But I didn't go anywhere. I landed on my back on the other side of this hoop, on the ground, looking up at my sister, looking down at me and laughing her head off, thinking I was totally crazy. The loop disappeared with as I gave it no more attention, so I stood up, and now I feel compelled to convince my sister that this is all just a dream. So I asked her to call my brother. Gary has his own experiences, so I know he's going to be with me all the way. So she calls my brother, and he comes in carrying some objects, I don't know what they were, and I say to him, Gary, this is all a dream, we can levitate. And with that, he did not need any convincing, he just dropped what he was carrying and took himself up to the ceiling. And I said to my sister, I said, look, I told you, it's a dream. And she looked really scared. She hasn't ever experienced anything like this as far as I know. And she is very skeptical of this sort of stuff. So I said to her, look, Gary's levitating, I can levitate. And I said, you can do it too. And she made some excuses about, no, it's probably not safe. And anyway, I'll do that in another dream, she said. And I said, no, that probably won't ever happen. And she said, why? And then my brother, or me, or together, we explained why. And the why was that she was so skeptical that the chance she ever had a dream where she could fly or realize she was even lucid was very, very small. And what she needed was somebody to come into her dream and tell her she was lucid and show her how to fly, and then she would experience that. But she didn't like that idea one little bit. So I said, well, okay, look, we'll just give you an experience of it. And I took one of her hands in my hand, and I said to my brother, hold her other hand and we'll just levitate a little bit with her so she doesn't get too scared. So Gary walked around her, picked up her other hand, so we were just about to levitate her off the ground. And I'm back here. I'm back in my position, reclining, hands by my side. I've still got my eyes closed, and I can still feel a slight throbbing in my body. So I'm back where I started. The experience has ended, but I'm still in a semi-phase state. That means that I can maybe have another experience. At this moment my bladder is starting to remind me that maybe it's time I went to the loo. I tried to ignore that and thought, no, this is much more important than getting up, ruining this state. I'm so relaxed now. My body is still throbbing a little bit. Let's spend the time to see how far this can go. So I spent another 10 to 15 minutes trying to induce more of the vibrations that didn't really work. They would ebb away, and then I would manage to get them back, and I could sort of drift off a little bit deeper into a sleep state, because I felt at first fully awake, but I could get that sleep state back, not too far, but far enough back to get some more visuals. And I got some more visuals as well. And I did this for about 10 minutes before it really was time to get up. I couldn't sit here any longer. And I think in total 1.25 hours had passed. So that was my experience this morning. It was an out-of-body state, but an out-of-body from a weird semi-lucid, semi-dream state, with my awareness in 3 different places, in 3 different bodies. But I feel closer now to understanding what this vibrational state involves. And it's really exciting, because if I can get that again, I can maybe have more experiences where I actually project or separate from this physical body instead of just appearing in another realm. And that in itself is an important experience to explore. So that was today's experience. Always something new, always something exciting, always something profound as hell. So hope you enjoyed it, and I'll let you know when the next one comes. Bye bye for now.